Hammond City Council is now in session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. Bless us and guide us with wisdom and prudence as we examine the use of your gifts. Keep us ever mindful of the needs of our city and residents. May all we do give you honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Also, like a moment of silence for Lonnie Williams, who passed away, was killed in my district this past week, and it's a no-win situation. It's very mind-boggling, but a moment of silence, please. Thank you so much.
Clerk Golick, roll call.
Markovich.
Here.
Spitali.
Here.
Vanez.
Here.
Kalwinski.
Here.
Ulaki.
Here.
Higgs.
Here.
Emerson.
Here.
Enosa.
Here.
Opinker.
Here. Okay, moving on. There's no reading of minutes. There are no approval of claims. There's no public hearing. Moving on to 6, communications. Does anybody have any communications?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
we received a correspondence from Nancy White, 1048 Morris, that says, "Your expression of sympathy brought us comfort. Please accept our heartfelt thanks. Love, Nancy White and family."
Any other communications? Moving on to committee reports. Moving on to committee reports.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vanez.
Council as a whole will be bringing out 1417. Do you want me to go through all of them?
Go ahead.
Alrighty. 1434, 1426, 1427, 1428, 1429, and 1430.
Any other committee reports? Closes committee reports. Moving on to ordinance, third and final passage. Clerk Golick.
Ordinance 14-17, sponsored by Councilwoman Vanez. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Hammond, Indiana, designating certain areas within the city as economic revitalization areas for purposes of real property tax abatement.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vanez.
I move for final passage of 1417.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vanez, second by Councilman Higgs. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, can you have the clerk read that in its entirety?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I know Councilman Higgs wasn't at the caucus, but redevelopment was involved in it, and maybe Brian or the mayor can go ahead and just give us a summary of what was going on. I mean, it would make more sense to have somebody talk to us instead of just reading this verbatim, and I think it would make it a lot easier for everyone.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Councilman Markovich.
Mr.
Mayor.
President?
In the interest of time, I would second Councilman Markovich's motion. It seems sort of ludicrous for a councilman that chose not to go to the caucus to have it read to him and everybody else. It just seems.
Mr.
I
President?
think Mr. Poland could come forward.
Point of order, Councilman Higgs.
I think Brian Poland, the city planner, approach and summarize again for the council, and for Councilman Higgs that didn't go to the caucus beforehand.
Mr. President?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vanez.
I move to suspend the rules so Phil Talon and the mayor can speak to this ordinance.
Motion by Councilwoman Vanez, second by Councilman Emerson to suspend the rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good evening, Council. Phil Talon, Director of Planning Development for the City of Hammond. We are very excited about this project. This is at 3510 Cadman Avenue. You may recall, as we mentioned in caucus, that back in June, we had first and second reading, and we also had the public hearing for this project. and we delayed until we knew for sure what the award was going to be from the state and from the RDA. And that's why we're here today for final passage. We have the award for state and RDA. This is a company out of Romeoville, Illinois. They've been there since 1956. They design and fabricate stairs and railings. They're very successful. Currently have 135 employees. When they move to this new facility, because of the new growth, they're going to be able to hire 45 new employees in the next 3 years. It's a minimum $3 million investment. The state and RDA believe in it so much that they both are giving a $1.725 million incentive, one as a tax credit, the other as an actual cash incentive. This is a 100% tax abatement for 10 years, but that's only on the increased assessed value. What they're currently paying on the site right now will remain, so they will continue to pay real estate taxes on that property. They will start some internal and utility work at the end of this year, but majority of the build-out will start first quarter of 2015. So that's majority of the project. It's a very exciting project. This is one of the higher jobs that we've, projects that we've, job creation. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
first and foremost, I was the one who posed the question simply so I can get a clear understanding. For the mayor to say that I didn't miss caucus, well, I happen to represent the 3rd District of the city of Hammond, and I have an individual that died and has no life insurance. Secondly, I was registering voters at Hammond High School as well today. So for you to make a statement like that is very offensive, okay? We all have a life, and we all have things that are going on, and I happen to work for my district 365 days a year, not just at election time.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
on that address, I think you might have mentioned it was 3510. Is it 3510 or 20? We have 20 on our order.
I have 3510 on the actual elevation that they submitted to us.
Okay, we have 3520 on ours. Okay. Brian?
That address difference was a source of something that when we were dealing with the paperwork in the first time, according to the county records, it is 3520. That would be the correct address.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
thank you so much, Phil, for your professionalism in explaining what this ordinance pertains. Thank you so much.
Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
point of clarification, is this for American Stair only? If for some reason they back out again, that this tax abatement and everything else, is that going to go to any other company that comes in? Because I know when we backed off on this before, we didn't want to open it up since they weren't coming here, and then that's why we stopped the tax abatement. So is this just for American Stair only and nobody else, in case they back out so nobody else comes in and wants the same benefits?
The ordinance in front of you is creating an economic revitalization area for this particular property, which then puts it in position to receive a tax abatement. So potentially, if they backed out and some other company came in, they could try and go through the process of receiving a tax abatement as well. The reason we delayed until now was to wait until the RDA and state had approved their incentives and American Stair had told us they're 100% moving forward. And that's why we're in front of you today to get this passed.
Well, why don't we put specifically in here that it's only for American Stair only then? Would that be a problem?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
Councilman Markovich, seeing that I asked the ordinance be read in its entirety, you can make a motion and amend anything in a particular ordinance and get a second. And if you get enough votes, you can pass it.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mayor.
my view from 30,000 feet here, I think we should be very proud that we've lured a business from Illinois to Indiana. It's a good business. It's a building that badly needs reinvestment. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create increased revenue. Well, they're going to pay the same tax revenue now for 10 years, but in year 11, you'll see a significant increase in the amount of revenue the city of Hammond receives. I think this is a great deal. You know, it applies to American Stair. If American Stair walks away, we still get the same amount of taxes from the prior landowner. Councilman Markovich, we don't really recommend changing this. If you do and have the votes, I guess we're going to have to deal with it. But I would be afraid that, you know, if we start playing games here, maybe American Stair walks away again. And I want to remind everybody that we first started negotiating with these people in April, and it's a great deal. and we did everything we could. At the time, we thought we were closing the deal. They went away for the whole summer. They're back again. I don't want to play games. I don't want to play politics. I want to bring business and jobs to the city of Hammond.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
I agree with the mayor on, in all due respect, economic development is a great incentive for the city of Hammond. But again, I do take offense to being accused of not being in caucus because there are things going on within my district.
Anyone else?
So, does it cause a problem if we specifically say American Stare?
I would hope.
Because
Listen,
if
I'm,
they
you know,
don't
I'm a
go
lawyer,
through with
but
it-
I didn't write this contract. I don't study this type of law. I'm a lawyer, but I want to tell you that it makes me nervous anytime non-lawyers are starting to mess around with documents that have been vetted by lawyers. It makes me nervous. So
Mr. President.
if you do something unintentionally, Councilman, and I can tell you that we're only planning to, we've never offered this type of incentive before. This is the first of its kind in Hammond. 100% tax abatement for 10 years. Obviously, we want this to pass. If we start messing with this document and mess it up, Councilman, and we have to come back to you for first and second reading, we have to come back to you a month later for third and final reading, and maybe American Stare gets mad at the city of Hammond and they go to Whiting, or they go to Munster, and we're all sitting here with egg on our face because, Councilman, I agree, I totally agree, and I get where you're coming from. From what I understand, if Kevin Smith could come forward, do you guys mind? Kevin, could you come forward and talk about the statement of benefits, the state form?
While he's coming up, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If the abatement stays with the revitalization area and American Stare doesn't come, and another group does, would we be voting again to allow the abatement?
I wouldn't support the abatement in that case, Councilman. Let's say American Stare goes away and we have a smaller, not as, a business that doesn't bring as much investment, a business that doesn't bring as much jobs. Obviously, we would want that business to come to our city, but I don't know if we'd be willing to give them a 10-year total tax abatement. We've never done that before.
So
This is, in my opinion, this is for American Stare only.
Okay, so we would have to vote again if another company came and wanted the abatement?
I'm going to have Kevin come forward. Kevin, how are you?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
is Attorney Cantor here?
She is.
Attorney Cantor, I think you're an attorney. You would know the logistics
Mr. President.
of this, wouldn't you?
Mr. President, could I run my own administration without Councilman Higgs?
Yes, you can.
In this case, Attorney Cantor is outstanding. She does great work for the city. Kevin's worked on this deal specifically, which is why I asked him to come forward.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. President, Council. Mr. Westland has worked on this as well. He is not here this evening, and obviously he represents redevelopment generally. However, I did have a conversation with him regarding this issue specifically that both Councilman Kowinski and Councilman Markovich brought up. What is before you tonight is the designation of the property as an economic revitalization area, ERA. It's my understanding that you cannot designate a project, you're designating the property. But on the upside, and to kind of, I guess, calm whatever concern Councilman Markovich may have on this, and I think it's a valid concern, in other words, what if we lose American Stare? Can someone else that we don't want in the city just roll in? Although I guess there is that small possibility, Councilman, we believe that because the statement of benefits are stated as such in your packet and within the ordinance or the document, that may be very difficult. Additionally, I guess there is a small chance that someone could come in and say, we meet the statement of benefits and therefore we should get the ERA. I think the more likely scenario would be, well, I think the most likely scenario is that American Stare is coming. However, the more likely scenario, if they do not come, would be someone would want to come in, get the tax abatement, they wouldn't meet the statement of benefits, and would have to come back before the council.
Mr. President.
Councilman Higgs.
Kevin, so in essence, you're saying that if this process was to start all over again, it would have to come before this body for approval?
Mr. President, first off, Councilman Higgs is correct. Secondly, I want to remind Councilman Higgs, and I know he was a councilman during this, we had situations come up with tax abatements in the city of Hammond while we've been in office, Councilman Higgs and I. If the project doesn't live to the terms of the tax abatement, doesn't meet certain requirements that they're supposed to meet, we could always bring the tax abatement back to the city council. So I imagine what would happen is once we extend this offer to American Stare, I agree with Kevin. I think they're going to close the deal. IEDC is involved in this. RDA is involved in this. City of Hammond Economic Development Department are working together to make this happen, as is the building owner. So I think this deal is going down once the council does this. However, if American Stair falls apart, I promise you as your mayor to bring this back before you so that we can vote it back down again. I promise you that as mayor. If American Stair falls apart, I will personally carry this bill back to the Hammond City Council and we will vote it down unanimously, assuming we all are unanimous on that. I will sign that. This is for American
Mr.
Stair.
President,
Councilman Higgs.
Mayor, so what are you saying? That currently the agreement that's put before us, if we should pass it and they don't hold up to the standards of this agreement, that you're willing to come before this body again and take their tax abatement?
I'm not saying that. I'm telling you that's what will happen. This is for American Stair, Councilman Higgs. As the mayor, I'm saying that. I'm saying it on the record in front of everybody. This is for American Stair. Councilman Markovich, totally agree with you, all right? And instead of jockeying with this document and possibly messing it up, I would hope that the council could pass it and trust me that if American Stair falls apart, which I don't believe is likely, but if it does, I will bring this back to you and we'll vote it down together because I don't want this offer being extended to just any business.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I have a motion to go back to regular order of business?
so moved.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. President,
Councilman Hinojosa.
don't we want to stay in, under new and unfit, and old, new business because of the intent to consider?
We suspended the rules.
Mr.
Right.
President,
Are we going to do the intent to consider?
Mr. President,
Well, we're on 1417 right now. We got to finish that.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
as president, you can't make a motion from where you're sitting, so I'll make that motion to return back to the regular order of business. I so move. That's Robert's Rules of Order.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Higgs, second by Councilwoman Venez to go back to regular order of business. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Regular order of business.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Councilman Markovich.
I know that Phil said in the caucus, we're talking 120 jobs or something to that effect?
180.
180.
They currently are relocating approximately 135 jobs to the facility, and by 2018, they plan on having 180 jobs.
And I know I'm not trying to stop this development or anything like, I know that back in May, it was stopped because they backed out and we didn't want to make this property available to anybody. But the only thing I got a problem with is on section B is that the estimate of up to 8 to 10 individuals will be employed. That's all it's saying in this resolution.
They're talking about in the immediate, like within the first year. But that's why we're giving an estimate here for 2018.
Mr. President,
And can I mention, Councilman, that they didn't back out. We were looking for some gap financing, and that's when they went back to the RDA and said, would you be willing to up the ante? RDA was so excited about the project, they said, absolutely.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
Councilman Markovich, this is not a resolution, this is an order.
Ordinance, right. But, you know, when you talk 135, 180 people, and then the ordinance says 8 to 10 individuals, I mean, that's a big difference. So, I mean, just so we got clarification here, because in case they do back out, this is set up for tax abatements for somebody to bring in a company with 8 to 10 individuals only, and according to this ordinance, they fit the criteria. And that's the only thing I'm worried about, okay? And I don't want to say that this is a deal breaker. I don't see how this would hurt if we specifically said American Stair, because if they backed out, then, you know, and the mayor said that if they do and somebody else wants to come in, it's got to come before the council. I'm not going to get involved in that part. But if it's for American Stair, again, just for the record, I don't know why we're not saying that. I have I'm kind of leery about section B, 8 to 10 individuals, when we're talking 135 to 180, so I'm just making that known out here. I mean, I'll go along with your word and your understanding, and that's the only thing we could rely on. But if for some reason down the line it falls apart, then hopefully, you know, everything will work out okay.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
as I stated previously to Councilman Markovich, at any time during this ordinance, you can amend in what you so choose. If you get a second and the votes, it will pass.
Mr. President?
Mayor.
I'd like to again to point out that it's not, I think this is only a few deals from the IEDC have come to Hammond, and I think this may be one of the first that's closed. The RDA, this is the first time the RDA has been involved in an economic development project in our city. We were stuck. We're all in. We offered 100% tax abatement. For the city of Hammond, we were all in. We couldn't do anything. The problem was there was a gap between the cost of the building and what the owner wanted to sell it for and what they wanted to pay for it. The RDA bridged that gap. All I'm trying to point out is this is a good project agreed upon by the IEDC, which is run by Governor Pence, as agreed by the RDA, which is run by Governor Pence, and according to the City of Hammond Economic Development Team, which is run by us. I think this is a great deal. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for a building that hasn't had an opportunity like this in a long time. You know, I think we're making, I hope you guys pass it.
Thank you, Mayor. Clerk, go with roll call vote.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes, 1417 passes 9-0.
Councilwoman Vines was the sponsor of that ordinance. Ordinance 14-34, sponsored by Peter J. Verdoliak, an ordinance classifying certain lands in the city of Hammond for zoning purposes and amending zoning ordinance number 8514, an ordinance establishing a zoning plan for the city of Hammond, including the regulations and maps to administer the zoning plan in order to provide for orderly growth and development within the city, all in accordance with the comprehensive land use plan as amended for property commonly known as 6621, 6625, and 6641 Columbia Avenue.
Sponsor. Mr. President.
Peter J. Verdoliak.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
yes, I move for final passage of 1434.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vines, second by Councilman Emerson for final passage of 1434. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
from what I understand in caucus, this is the Stardust Building. They are going to, they're looking to make a fitness center and add some shopping on the west side of the building.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Mayor?
I want to point out that all the landowners involved in this, Mr. Iatreides from Legends Bar and also the Euro Shop right next door have signed off on this and given power of attorney to Mr. Turinga, who appeared before us all in caucus today. I think that says a lot about all the local neighbors, support this project.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
please add me as a sponsor of that particular ordinance.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Any other discussion? Clerk Golick, roll call vote.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs. Emerson.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes, 1434 passes 9-0.
Ordinance 14-26, the 2015 City of Hammond budget.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
I move for final passage of 1426.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kowinski, second by Councilman Spitali for final passage of 1426. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
I move that 14-26 be moved as amended.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Kowinski, second by Councilman Spitali to move 1426 as amended. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
thanks to Councilman Hinojosa, he gave me the amendment. I didn't have it, unfortunately, because I was registering voters again. But certainly I see there's a difference in the environmental management personal service salary. Am I correct?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
if you look at page 11 and 1426, the ninth line down, you'll see that the change goes from 76,966 to 77,736 for the waste fuel engineer.
Any
Mr.
other
President?
discussion?
Councilman Kowinski, is that a 2% raise or 3?
2%, please, Heather, from Controller's Office.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
point of order. The councilman made a motion as amended. We have not entered anything as an amendment as of yet. What we were given was this in the caucus. We have to go ahead and put 14-26A or something to that effect and label it as such, and then introduce it as an amendment to this budget. You just can't go ahead and just say we're changing this.
Go ahead and label 1426 as A.
The proper way to then, to make the amendment would be to put 14-26A as an amendment. You just can't be just making comments and changes on that without properly doing it.
All right, I believe you're right. Berger, that's correct, isn't it?
Correct.
You're moving to amend?
Yeah, a salary in.
Right.
This thing that was passed out, we gotta make that.
All right.
26A.
Sure, amend by substituting.
Right. Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Okay, Councilman Kowinski.
I'd like to amend 14-26 to 14-26A to indicate the amendment we're making.
Second.
Okay, it's a motion by Councilman Kowinski to amend 1426 to A, second by Councilman Hinojosa. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Call for the vote.
Clerk Golick, roll call vote.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs. Yes. Emerson.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. 1426A passes 9-0. Now roll call vote on 1426 as written. You have a motion on 1426? We voted on the amended version,
Right, now we gotta do 1426
Now we-
as amended.
as amended.
Correct. Mr. Chairman, I move that 1426 be passed on third and final reading as amended.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Kowinski, second by Councilman Higgs. A vote on 1426 as amended. Clerk Golick. Roll call vote, Clerk Golick.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs. Emerson.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. 1426 as amended passes 9-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
just for a point of clarification, so I know we had a problem last year that we all have to sign this budget tonight before we leave. So nobody runs off, because I know last year we were being chased around to get signatures for certain things, and it makes the hassle. So tonight, make sure, we're signing off on the budget for redevelopment, and just hang around until the people get the proper signatures. Thank you.
Moving on, Clerk Golick.
Ordinance 14-27, sponsored by Councilman Opinker. An ordinance fixing the salaries and wages of all city officials and employees of the city of Hammond, Indiana, other than those fixed by statute or by ordinance heretofore enacted, and fixing the effective date thereof.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
I move for final passage of 14-27. I so move.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Higgs, second by Councilman Spitali for final passage of 14-27. Is there any discussion? Any discussion on 1427? Clerk Golick, roll call vote.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes, 1427 passes 9-0.
Ordinance 14-29.
28.
President. 14-28, ordinance sponsored by Councilman Opinker. An ordinance fixing the salaries and wages of all policemen and firemen of the city of Hammond, Indiana, other than those fixed by statute or by ordinance heretofore enacted, and fixing the effective date thereof.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
I move for final passage of 1428.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vines, second by Councilman Spitali for final passage of 1428. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Clerk Golick, roll call vote on 1428.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. Ordinance 1428 passes 9-0.
Ordinance 14-29, an ordinance for appropriations and tax rate.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
I move for final passage of 1429.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vines, second by Councilman Hinojosa for final passage of 1429. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Clerk Golick, roll call vote.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski. Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. Ordinance 1429 passes 9-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
a reminder again, 1429 is going to require all of our signatures tonight, so please don't run off.
Thank you, Councilman Markovich. Moving on, Clerk Golick.
Ordinance 14-30, the 2015 budget proposal for the sanitary district of Hammond.
Mr. President,
Councilman Emerson.
I move for final passage of ordinance 14-30.
Second.
It's moved by Councilman Emerson, second by Councilman Spitali for final passage of 1430. Is there any discussion? Any discussion on ordinance 1430? Clerk Golick, roll call vote.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. Ordinance 1430 passes 9-0.
Mr. President?
President Opinker, that concludes the ordinances for final passage.
Thank you, Clerk Golick. Mr. Mayor.
I want to, first off, I want to thank the Hammond City Council for working so hard. I think it's the first time since I've been mayor we've had a 9-0 vote on the budget. I also want to thank Hammond City Controller Heather Gray. This was her first budget. I think she did a great job communicating with the council. I want to thank her as well as everybody else that worked so hard. But I know having Saturday hearings and, you guys did a lot of hard work. So again, to the Hammond City Council, thank you. And to you, next time we do our budget work, I'm sure we'll be working closely together. But I just want to say thanks. A unanimous vote it's nice when we all come together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Moving on, introduction of ordinances. There are none. Resolutions, there are none. New and unfinished business.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
yes. We discussed in caucus that there will be our regularly scheduled council meeting on August 27th. I move to cancel the meetings.
October 27th, not August.
Pardon me?
27th.
October 27th.
What did I say?
August 27th.
August, I'm sorry, October. I move to cancel the November 10th, November 24th, December 8th, and December 22nd council meetings, and schedule the November meeting on November 17th and the December meeting on December 15th.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Vines, second by Councilman Hinojosa. Is there any discussion on the changing of the meetings? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meetings are changed. Any other new and unfinished business?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
I would just like to take a moment to say hello to our judge who's in the audience. Thank you, Judge, for attending our council meeting.
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Vines.
Yes, I would like to take this opportunity to announce that the 4th annual Trunk or Treat event is going to be held Friday, October 31st from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Home Depot. This event is sponsored by the Eastside Community Council and Edison Community Watch and in partnership with Home Depot. Last year we saw over 500 children. Home Depot generously donates a bouncy house, s'mores, hot dogs, popcorn, water. So we are looking for people who are interested in entering their car in the event. So think about decorating the trunk of your car and passing out treats and promoting your organization. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Councilman Higgs.
I'd just like to mention that earlier I did mention that one of my constituents passed away, and that would be Mr. Floyd Nixon. Anyone who's interested in making a donation, please see me after the council meeting. We're still trying to funeralize him.
Any other new unfinished business? New unfinished business is now closed. Moving on to public expression. First speaker of the night, Janet Vines. Remember, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. As a resident of Hammond, I feel the need to confront a situation that's been festering for several months. After the inflammatory letter to the editor on Monday, September 29th, from Mary Dunning, who's been dead since 1966, accusing the city of Hammond of racial insensitivity, it's obvious a group of small-minded people have chosen to take the First Amendment to the lowest common denominator: discrimination and racism, one of the most sinister, disturbing, and evil accusations one can make of another. Just because two people of different races disagree does not racism make. It's a difference of opinion. It was back in June that I began to hear from county officials that Hammond's representative from the 3rd District was making phone calls to tell them I told him to shut up and I'm racist. As I said before, a sinister accusation by anyone's standard. That fact was further confirmed at the meeting, the council meeting of July 14th during public expression. At the June 9th council meeting, I did ask the representative from the 3rd District to hush, not shut up, and there's an enormous difference between the two. I made the request to hush, not shut up, after the 3rd District representative interrupted the voting process and called Council President O'Pinker a liar. The tape doesn't lie, but the representative from the 3rd District does. Anyone can view the June 9th meeting at gohammond.tv at approximately 48 minutes and judge for yourself. Last council meeting, the orchestrated defense of the 3rd District representative's lies by Ms. Harris and the subsequent comments from that representative saying I told him to shut up were reprehensible. As councilwoman at large, I represent the entire city of Hammond. I've worked in all of our neighborhoods and in an effort to better our city. My immediate family is comprised of Caucasian, Latino, and African American. We celebrate holidays together, we visit each other, We help each other. We love and admire each other. My family is as diverse as Hammond is. The diversity in Hammond and the ability of our residents to adapt to our diversity is a characteristic I most admire. Most of us see one human being to another. However, this small group of people who choose to be mean, evil, and insidious in the face of opposition are pitiful, and I pray for their peace. If one expects respect, one must give respect. The true character of an individual is always displayed during a time of challenge, and actions always speak louder than words, as evidenced by the 3rd District representative leaving here this evening. This venomous behavior must stop, and it must stop now. Thank you.
Next speaker will be Mr. Alvin Cheeks.
Alvin Cheeks, 832 Merrill Street, Hammond, Indiana. I like the same latitude that you gave her because I got a bunch of stuff to say. Number one, racism in Hammond does exist. Number two, the lack of minority contractors, the lack of minority participation in this city is man, it brings you to tears that we don't get our share. It's repulsive, you know, and to think that we all live here, we should all have the same chance. Councilman Higgs, he's came to my house many a time, speaking with my mom about feeding people and that. Great guy, care about our district. I think so many times we have to understand that now in the city of Hammond, there's more minorities, but the lack of jobs for those minorities is not good. The lack of respect that we get in the city, not good. You know, I'm glad to say I had a friend who was very wealthy that made it where I didn't have to listen to anybody or do what anybody says. And I'm telling you, if Charter Fitness does not have minority contractors on that site, I will personally bring 500 people to ensure that we get our fair share of economic development in this city. It's too many times that people go around saying harsh things about our district councilman. The district councilman did not ask me to stand up here, but I'm sick of it. And I'm telling you that I can assure you that whatever dollar amount it takes to keep our district councilman in, I've been assured by Al Gov, one of the principal partners of Valley Casino Inc., and I've been assured by the Valley's family that whatever it takes to make Councilman Higgs' Thanksgiving a great success, we will do it. Whatever it takes to ensure that our district gets a fair share of economic development, we will do it. If it takes protesting, if it takes lobbying, we will do it. You don't have to be a 3rd District councilman to get your fair share. I've been coming to this building 28 years this year. I've seen many people come and go. It's not but 2 people left from the beginning of when I started here. 2 people, Clerk Golick and Mr. Markovich. I've owned things in this area, and I can assure you, I'll sell them all. I'll sell them all to ensure that the 3rd gets to get its fair share of economic development. And I'm telling you, and I'm warning you, Councilman Higgs is a friend of the 3rd District. He's a fighter and a champion for burying our people. We have to bury 3 people this week. Not 1, not 2, but 3. 2 of them don't have insurance. I saw him 12 o'clock last night begging for people to help him. That's somebody that cares about our district. I know all about the people knocking on the doors and the things that they're saying, and I'm assuring you, I've stayed out of this fight, but if they make it personal, then we will support our councilman to the end, whatever dollars that it takes. And I'm assuring y'all, it must stop because it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheeks. The last speaker of the night will be Councilman Higgs.
First and foremost, as I stated in that previous meeting, that I respect all my colleagues and I expect the same as well. For you to tell a grown man who happens to be 47 years old on this earth to shut up or hush is totally unprofessional. I've never done it to you. I don't expect you to do it to me. So you can call it racism, you can call it whatever you want. But in reality, I know what it is. So you can stand up here and try to defend yourself and say that you're not this and you're not that. You show it by your expressions. It's something personal that you have And I don't care who you choose to want to run, it makes no difference. But the reality of it is the business of this city must go forward. And whatever it takes for me to get it done, I will do it. I'm willing to die for my cause. Have a good night.
Thank you, Councilman Higgs. So with public expression, a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Hinojosa, second by Councilwoman Vines. All those in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned.